This episode of Alive is brought to you by Living in Style Year-End Mega Sale, ongoing but only until December 30. Living in Style is at the Park Mall. Esca Resto at Verified Lounge at the second floor of the Avenir Building across BIR. And the Me Store at the Ayala Central Block.
The much-awaited Living in Style Mega Year-End Sale is here. Get up to 50% off on selected furniture items. From living and dining set, bedroom showcase, home accessories, and more. Hurry! Don't miss these exciting deals. Visit us from December 1 to 30 at the second floor of the Park Mall and enjoy mega savings. Per DTI Fair Trade Permit number R7, CEB 441 Series of 2020.
Hi guys, welcome to Alive, my search for the best ways to live. And my search has brought me here at the Cebu City Hall with no less than our beloved Mayor, Mayor Edgardo Labella. Hi Mayor, Merry Christmas Mayor.
Merry Christmas, Jigs, and good day to your listeners and of course your audience on television because I understand that you'll be paying this through television and of course the social media enthusiasts. Good day to all of us and Merry Christmas.
First of all, Mayor, daghang salamat for giving me this opportunity to talk to you. I've always been searching for the best ways to live, and what better way to look for a better way or a way to live than talking to the person behind running Cebu City. My first question for you, Mayor, is this. I found out that your mother is a Visayan actress and your father was or is a Visayan movie film director. How did you find your way into politics? Did you ever in your wildest dreams, Mayor, nagdahom nga mamayor ka sa Cebu City in hindsight, looking back?
That is a very good question, Jigs. You see, I would like to answer that question first with a statement that you can never argue with destiny. You can never argue with destiny. Yes, you are correct. Never in my wildest imagination that I won't end up becoming mayor of Cebu City. You know, we do not belong to what you call as the political royalties in the city of Cebu. And our family name is just a simple family name like any other average families in the community. First, the question that you asked was, how did I end up becoming mayor when my father was a director, my mother was also a Visayan actress? Well, of course, they were both artists, but in their own right, my father was a professor of history and sociology,
Okay.
aside from being an artist, aside from being a movie director. And of course, my mother was also not just an artist or an actress. She was also a teacher. She is an alumna of the University of San Carlos, but at the time, she was into acting. But, you know, the priest at the time running the school was very strict. They did not want my mother to be involved in an acting career, doubling as a teacher. So she was asked, would you want to be a teacher or an actress? But you know, being an artist, I think it's in her blood. So she opted to be an actress rather than just a teacher, rather than a teacher. And of course, my dad was a professor till the end. And in the remaining years of his life, in his retirement years, he still taught at San Jose Recoletos, teaching film, teaching, I think, some subjects on broadcasting. Because as I've said, aside from being a professor of history and sociology, he was also into movie directing. And he became the regional director of what was then the National Media, the Department of Public Information, which is now, I think, the Office of Secretary Endanar. Now, why did I become a politician? I did not, never in my wildest dream, as I said. But, my father, service was also in his blood. And I hope people would not call it as being hypocrite. I was always a reluctant candidate. When they asked me to run for councilor in the city, I was already the director of the office of the ombudsman. But then, people in Mabolo came to the house because there was not a single member of the council from the district of Mabolo, which is relatively a big barangay in the North District. And of course, as I've said, service was also in the blood of my father.
So you're a reluctant candidate, Mayor, when you were first asked to run for what specific position?
City councilor.
City councilor.
This was in 1998.
So what was the light bulb moment? What was the final push nga murag nakaingon ka nga mo dagan lang gyud siguro ko kay murag, like you said, you're reluctant, murag di ka ganahan, you were on the fence, right? But what was that moment when you realized or when you thought to yourself, sige, sawayan ko ni?
When the barangay captain of Mabolo, the late Manusani Borges, the barangay council, and the many other leaders of the sectors in Mabolo came to the house and asked me, Attorney Labella, we think that you have done your share. I think it is high time now that you should give back to the people of Cebu City the success, all the things that you have enjoyed, the fruits that you have reaped as a practicing lawyer, and of course as director of the Ombudsman. You have to give back by way of serving the city of Cebu. And of course, Mayor Tommy and Mayor Tommy and then Vice Mayor Renato Osmeña actually came to me and asked me to be a part of the ticket. So eventually, because of that opportunity to serve, I yielded and ran for councilor, but only as councilor. Only as councilor.
So when you ran for Cebu City Councilor at that time, this was probably 15, 20 years ago, Mayor?
Let me see, 1998.
1998, so more or less, mga
More or
10,
less.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
So did you, when you finally said yes, did you feel, once you were already a Cebu City Councilor, did you feel nga, hey, this is something that murag okay man din eh? It's not as bad as I think it is, and did you begin to like it in your first term as Cebu City Councilor? Because politics is it's sometimes a very dirty game, right? It's very stressful. It's a bunch of compromise, and you have a lot of friends, but also a lot of enemies and all that stuff. In your first term as a Cebu City Councilor, did you feel nga murag kayam din ako? How did you feel, Mayor?
Well, of course.
Take us back to that moment when you became Cebu City Councilor back in 1998.
So I realized that it is a rewarding experience. Of course, you hear some people hurling invectives, but most importantly is you were given the opportunity to serve. And if you see the grateful faces and smile of the people that you help, it will make your day. So I said, I am not mistaken in opting to run for public office because it has given me the opportunity to serve. And as I've said, if you see the gracious smiles, the grateful faces of the people that you help, it makes your day.
Mayor, my viewers, my listeners are always very curious about what sort of books do you read? What books or characters of history has influenced you the most in terms of your governing style, in terms of you as a person? And who have you read and who do you look up to in history that has influenced you the most?
Well, of course, I read the book of Lee Kuan Yew. I have read the book of somehow the late former President Carlos P. Garcia. He was just, misunderstood. But the most important thing that I think, for me, that made him very significant was his first Filipino policy. At that point in time, we were still harboring the effects of colonialism. And it was this president that advocated the first Filipino policy. But I think there were businessmen from our former colonizer that didn't like the idea because they wanted to explore and maybe take advantage of the relationship that we had then with them. So I think some sectors, particularly those foreign businessmen, after realizing that President Carlos P. Garcia advocated for the first Filipino policy, disregarding some of foreign investments that come into the country and for our people to be exploited by foreigners. I think, as I've said, these foreign investors did something really during the election that he would be defeated.
So Filipino first policy
Filipino
of
first
Carlos,
policy.
President Carlos
Businesses
Garcia.
and everything,
So that was a very nationalistic.
very nationalistic, very patriotic president.
Okay.
And of course, the kind of delicadeza that he had. And another is Don Sergio Osmeña Sr. For me, he was an epitome of humility in high office. If I would tell you the story, we were still trying to rehabilitate and rebuild the nation from the ravages of the war. During that election, he was the president. He was the sitting president because he assumed office when President Quezon died, and he was the vice president. So in the elections, the first election, then Speaker Manuel Rojas ran against him, but he was the sitting president. You know what? I've read this in the book of, I remember. You know what? His political advisors and leaders advised him, Mr. President, your opponent, Speaker Rojas, is going around the country campaigning for the presidency. And then, while you are here sitting in Malacanang, he's taken an advantage against or over you. You know what he said? Never mind. I trust in the Filipino people. We are still rehabilitating from the ravages of the war. I cannot leave my office. I have to work hard, and I do not have to go around because I do not intend leaving the office at this point in time. Is not an option for me, being the president. I have many things to do. You can just imagine. And then he was defeated. But he was gracious in defeat. As I've said, these two leaders, Sergio Osmeña Sr. and Carlos P. Garcia.
So Carlos P. Garcia's nationalistic or Filipino first policy and Sergio Osmeña Sr.'s
epitome of humility in high office.
Epitome of humility. How has that seeped into your governing style? Have you are you more sort of nationalistic as an individual, as a mayor? Are you do you get your humility from Sergio Osmeña Sr.? Would you be able to say that?
Exactly. For me, humility in office is a virtue that I think our public officials should inculcate into their hearts and minds. Because when you are elected into public office, you should always think that you are there, public officials should not think of being political masters, but of servants to the people. If you have humility. You're always willing to listen. Consultative and inclusive kind of governance. Because if you are high-handed and you believe that because you are in office that you are above everybody. On the contrary, you should be there as a servant of the people. And you cannot do that if you do not have humility. So I said, humility is a virtue that should be inculcated in the hearts and minds of public officials, especially public officials who are elected into office.
Mayor, we live in very different times now. I call this one the coronaverse. For this year, 2020, it's probably the most difficult year to be mayor anywhere, right? Mayor, how would you rate yourself from a scale of 1 to 10? How do you think you're doing so far?
Well, I tried my best, and I believe that res ipsa loquitur, the thing speaks for itself. Through our, of course, not just me, but it is a combination. It is the cooperation of the entire community of Cebu City. But of course, you have to lead them. And we have flattened the curve, certainly, and for the last few months, of course, at the very outset, we were dubbed as the epicenter of the virus. But it was understandable because among the many local governments in the entire country, we were the only one which conducted an aggressive testing. We had 30 to 35,000 test kits, while the others have not started even. We are prepared. We have our quarantine centers, which I think until now, they are almost vacant because of the effect of what we did. Now, some of my friends said, Mayor Edgar, you stop conducting massive testing because the result is that you will have many cases.
Positive, yeah.
And I said, no, I believe that it is my moral and legal duty to look for this invisible enemy. And I think it's paid off. Of course, with the cooperation of our city health officials, our barangay officials, our city officials, the police, and the frontliners, and of course, the community. At first, they did not understand the role that they have to play to be obedient. So, now that we have flattened the curve, I hope that we will continue to have
Mayor,
this.
they say that great adversity, great challenges unite. When you have a common enemy like a pandemic, like COVID-19, it unites peoples. Of course, in some parts of the world, it has divided them immensely, like in the United States, right? But here in the Philippines, in Cebu, do you see that kind of unity? Do we have that unity here in Cebu because we have a common enemy? Or nagmamulitika gyapon uban, Mayor? What do you think?
Yes, after we made them to understand that we have an invisible enemy that is very difficult to fight. And they have to play their role because government alone cannot do it. Government alone cannot succeed without the support of the people. At the very outset, they did not understand and they were not able to comprehend their role as citizens. But in the long run, and of course, through our appeals, through the kind of service, eventually, the community realized that they have to do their part. And I agree with you, Jigs, that this adversity, this, shall we say, calamity, has, in a way, united the people of Cebu City.
You know, aside from uniting people, Mayor, adversities, problems, challenges also reveal a lot of things about government, about anything actually. It uncovers a lot of hidden problems. What do you think, Mayor, because of the pandemic, what do you think were revealed about our underlying problems that otherwise would not have been revealed if there was no pandemic?
I think eventually the people have realized and have seen the sincerity of the public officials, the sincerity of the health officials, and knowing that we are doing our job, going out of our way, exposing ourselves to the risk. And I think because of these factors, our people eventually believed and practiced and complied with the health protocols, because they saw how the officials, how we work, and the kind of intervention and sincere approaches that we did to fight this pandemic.
So that was revealed nga sincere din ang mga politicians that dili lang they're not just here because of
Not just lip service.
lip service.
Yes.
So that the
I think
pandemic
so, and I
revealed
believe that-
Mayor, in your how long has it been? 2-3 years? What do you think?
What's the question?
You've been mayor for
I'm only mayor for 1 year.
1 year.
They even dubbed me as the COVID mayor.
The COVID mayor. So you opened the door with into the office of the mayor with a pandemic,
Yeah.
with a global pandemic. Mayor, my question is, out of all the things that you've done, what do you so far, in not just in your time as mayor so far, but in your time as a politician, what do you think you regret the most, and what would you want to change that thing that you regret the most
Well,
as a
actually,
politician?
There are many things, but
Just pick one.
Yeah, but I understand that it's one of the hazards of the profession, that many people would really bash you even if they are malicious, hurling invectives. And every time my children would hear this mudslinging and character assassination against me, and my children knew that I was doing my job sincerely, and in fact, sometimes neglecting some of the things that they wanted to be with them, me to be wanted with them. Sometimes I could say that, why did I join politics? Yeah, the mudslinging and character. It's not that, well, of course I'm affected, but when I see the faces of my children, that they are so affected, and then they would say, Papa, di man ka ingon ana, nganong ila man kang daog-daogon, ila man kang pasakitan, mudslinging and character assassination. Then what I tell my children, you know what? For as long as your conscience is clear, when you are in politics, you should not be onion skin. You should not be onion skin, I told them, for as long as your conscience is clear. And I have a statement sa Binisaya. Permit me to
Go
say
ahead. Sige, unsang
sa
lingwahe mo
Binisaya.
yun?
Naigiingon, bisan kuno og unlan siko, habol sako, basta konsensya limpyo, makatug kag maayo. And this is
Nice.
what I tell my children. So I said, nangutana man ka, you're asking if there is some regret. Yes, of course. If
So back in
Like-
1998, when you were asked to run for Cebu City Councilor, would you have wanted to change that and said no? And so saying no to that moment, you would not be mayor now. Would you have wanted to do that?
I was overwhelmed by the outpouring of support, outpouring of emotion. Barangay captain, the late Manusani, officials, and the many sectors of the Mobolo community, and in fact also Cebu City.
So you would not have wanted to change that moment back in 1998 when
Well,
you
of course.
nakakonbinsi sila nimo nga padaganon ka og Cebu City Councilor
No.
back in 1998. So
Because as I've said, every time I see a grateful smile from the people we help, it makes my day.
Mayor, you have a lot of, like you said, mga bashers po. No? You have some fans. You also have some bashers. It's natural to have bashers, right? Especially if you're in the public sphere. Mayor, how do you try to control your stress? Because I imagine kanang being a mayor is such a stressful job. How do you relax? How do you lessen the blow of all these bashers and all the problems, the weight under your shoulder? What's your secret, Mayor? How do you keep your sanity?
I resort to this.
Okay.
I resort
The
to
Bible.
the Bible.
Okay.
Read and listen to the Word of God. And
Okay.
I think there are verses in the Bible that you read to console you.
So do you read the Bible regularly, daily, or do you have a specific verse that you go to, Mayor? Kung medyo times are very stressful, especially now that we have this pandemic.
Yeah, of course, but the most favorite is Psalm 69.
Which
And
is?
just do not let me quote it.
Okay.
Psalm 69.
Psalm 6, and we will.
This is the psalm that I remember and I read, especially when I had that accident. I don't know if you have heard of
Yes,
that.
of course. That
Yeah.
you were in the water in the open water
36
for
hours.
36 hours, right?
2 nights, 2 days. And I look up to the good Lord with overflowing gratitude. So that if I survive in that very harrowing experience, there is no reason that the good Lord will not help me survive in all these basings, because I know that my conscience is clear. I resort to reading the Bible. I'm not a regular reader, but I watch television on, these Bible lectures. It's 24 hours a day, and I sleep with it.
Is Mayor Labella different when he goes home as citizen Labella? Are you a different person, Mayor, or do you put up a front when you're mayor, and the front of being strong and all that stuff? When you go home, how different are you from who you are now to when you go home and the doors are shut?
There is no difference, because even if I am at home, I still think about the city. In fact, I tell you, I do not intend to go out on vacation from the city
Okay.
during this Christmas season. All my friends and some fellow public officials have admonished me to relax and go out of the city during these holidays. I cannot. I cannot be relaxed, because I would always think of what's happening in the city, especially that we are now in extraordinary times. I will just be around, because as I've said, we have become a calamity-prone community. We never know. There could be landslides in the mountain barangays. There could be typhoons. There could be flooding. So for me, taking a vacation is not an option as mayor of the city. There are many things to do. So even if I'm at home, I'm always thinking of what's going on in the city. Well, that's me.
But you have the Bible to go to when you're feeling all overwhelmed,
Yes, of course.
right?
If there are buses that, making concoctions and malicious and invectives and mudslinging, I read the Bible.
Mayor, we see a lot of resurgence in the pandemic in some parts of the world. In Japan, in the United Kingdom, in Britain, they're beginning to close their doors again. In the United States, wherein the level of COVID-19 positive cases have skyrocketed. Here in Cebu, we are lucky enough that, like you said, we have flattened the curve. In fact, we have taken it down to murag single digit na lang atong cases
Yes.
every day, right? But
And we have even dubbed now as the golden standard,
yes.
emulated by other.
Of course, people are beginning to go out. Traffic ayo pagpadong na ko doon. The malls are beginning to fill up. The churches are beginning to fill up. Mayor, what kind of hadlook, Mayor, nga the same thing that happened in the United States, in Japan, in the United Kingdom, in Britain to be exact, will happen to us here in Cebu. Nagsugod naman sa tagtapok. And then what measures do you think can we do to make sure that that will never happen? Because I think the vaccine is not yet coming
Yes.
in the next 2 to 3 months yet. I mean, that's a long ways to go.
Well, of course, I'm really worried, especially during the Misa de Gallo. I relaxed the Q pass, so there is no restriction so far as the use of the Q pass. So people come out, except those not allowed below 15 and over 65. I'm really worried. But the only thing that consoles me is the fact that although many people go out, I go around and I noticed that they have become compliant, the wearing of the mask, and some, this shield, but many of them, ibutang las ibabaw. So, that is something that I am concerned, and I have already instructed Councilor Garganera, the AOC, and the city health officials to be ready after this holiday if there's going to be a surge. But I don't think that we will come to that situation like that in the United States, because I think the reason why there is a high surge is that many people in the U.S. do not wear masks. For them, it is something, they feel that it is a restriction of their freedom. You know, the Americans are so much oriented with democracy, freedom. So the reason why they did not want, and I think you can decipher that from the way President Trump delivered his speeches, that he did not believe that wearing masks is a good way, because the Americans are really particular about freedom. But I think we here, we have become compliant, although as what the President had said, nga naidaghang gahigyapog ulo. But I think, then insofar as the Misa de Gallo, I could say that, Cebuanos are deeply religious people. We have become the beacon of Catholic Christianity in the entire world. We are the cradle of Catholic Christianity. So, deep in the hearts of every Cebuano is their belief in God, so that it's very difficult to control. They really would go out. You can just imagine, there are 35 churches, and they are located just immediately very near, the proximity. Santo Niño is just beside Cathedral. You go a little further, you have the Santo Rosario. You go a little further to the pier, there is the St. Joseph Church. You go a little further, there is the church in San Jose. You can just imagine. And these are filled with churchgoers. That underscores the fact that Cebuanos are deeply religious.
We can express our religiosity through attending a mass, for example, online. There are many online masses on YouTube, for example. We can express our religiosity through that. Why do we need to go to the churches? That becomes a super spreader event, in effect, because we are so many in one place. There are so many people in one area.
I asked that question to a middle-aged person. Can you not just attend mass online? It's because of their deep faith. And they said, we will all do this to God and the Blessed Mother. And God works in mysterious ways. How can you argue with that?
It doesn't make them less faithful if they attend mass online.
Yes, I may agree with what you say. But a great number of Cebuanos do not agree with that. They are not satisfied with just hearing mass online because of the deep religious faith. You know that guy that I asked? I said, are you not scared of getting the coronavirus? You know what he said? God works in mysterious ways. And I know that, but my deep faith, God will never abandon me. That is, I think, the kind of feeling and attitude that many of these churchgoers insist, even if somehow they have violated the health protocol of social distancing.
Mayor, knock on wood, simbako, but in case there's a second wave, are we ready?
We are ready. In fact, I think this was the statement of Secretary Mike Dino, that we are the most prepared. We have the CQC. Practically, it's almost empty now. We have the IEC, run by the Catholic Church. It's practically almost empty. And, of course, we have the NOAA complex. And our hospitals. We have three-level hospitals, third-level hospitals, and I think we only have less than 20%. And I am confident that if there is going to be a surge, it would not be that much. And our health officials have been doing this. Our police, PNP, have experienced this in the last 9 months. And I think the experience had made them ready of any surge. But as I've said, I do not expect that if there's going to be an increase, it would not be that much.
Mayor, this pandemic has changed the way we look at governing. In terms of budgets, in terms of priorities now, that we know that there's always a constant threat because from what I read, there's already a new strain of COVID-19 somewhere in Britain, I think,
Yes,
that started in the United States or something like that. So this will be a threat not just now, but for always. In terms of budgets, in terms of priorities as a city, how has this changed the way we look at governance?
Yes, of course. But Cebu City has been always preparing. And in our budget, even before the pandemic, we already give importance, give big significance and premium to the health of our people. Not just the pandemic, but in many other aspects. Now, CCMC will be opening the first 3 floors, and we will be purchasing equipment, and of course the City Health Office. We are prepared. And as I've said, Cebu City has always given the health of our people premium. And in fact, in our annual investment plan, I think it's 350 million or 500 million. I think I asked for 500, but I think 350 million is designed to purchase the vaccine. But of course,
Kano sa mani, Mayor? Kano sa kani maabot dire sa Cebu ang vaccine nato?
you know, Jigs, I had a meeting or a conference with the vaccine czar, Secretary Galvez. And he said, and I told him first, that Cebu City has will appropriate about 350 million for the vaccine. And then he said, hinay-hinay lang, Mayor, because there is a protocol that insofar as the purchase of the vaccine, it's going to be a tripartite agreement. Tripartite in the sense that it should be a course through the national government, and it has to be an agreement to be signed by the national government, by the supplier, and local government, or anybody, or any group of people who would like to purchase the vaccine. And he said that, and I'm very thankful when he said Cebu City is one of the priorities.
So what does that mean, Mayor? When is that? When you say priority, do you have an idea, a timetable next month, 3 months from now?
Well, what I've heard of late was that the vaccine will be made available first quarter or maybe until March.
Okay,
And
first quarter of
but I
2021.
think that negotiations are being undertaken. Pfizer, Moderna, and I think Pfizer and Moderna are the best kinds. In fact, Vice President Pence, President-elect Joe Biden, and the Vice President-elect had
Kamala
already
Harris.
been vaccinated.
Yes.
The Pfizer. So, but according to Secretary Galvez, Pfizer and Moderna have also manifested their intent.
Once the vaccine is ready here in Cebu, Mayor, how do you intend to implement the vaccination? Because a vaccine is nothing if it's not being vaccinated into the people, right? So what's your program going to be like? Who are the priority groups of people that you will get the vaccine first?
Yeah, of course. Just like in the national government, that give priority to the frontliners, the poorest of the poor, and then senior citizens, and so on and so forth.
Will this be for free, by the way?
Of course, it will be for
For
free to
everyone.
our people in the city of Cebu.
Okay.
It's going to be purchased by the city to augment the vaccine that will be provided by the national government. But, it's not enough for the national government to provide vaccine to practically all the residents or the population of Cebu City. That's why we have to augment. And we have to
What's your target, Mayor? How much percentage do you think is the vaccine going to be injected into the people of Cebu? How much?
according to the World Health Organization, 70%.
70%.
So that if you have vaccinated, this is according to the scientific study of the World Health Organization, that if you are going to vaccinate about 70% of the population, that's good enough to be able to arrive at that herd immunity.
But the thing with Cebu City, Mayor, is we belong to an island, the Cebu province of Cebu, right? So
Yes.
what you're talking about here is just Cebu City.
Yes, because
How about the other component cities? How about the other provinces, the municipalities? Because we live in one big island. I think it's crucial that we not only vaccinate Cebuano, taga Cebu City, but everybody in the island, right?
yeah, but I
What-
do not have jurisdiction.
What kind of coordination do you have with the province
Well, of
in terms of
course,
the vaccination?
Yeah, of course, if it's going to be a coordination, then I would gladly do that.
But no coordination yet so far.
Yeah, yes, no initiative yet. But, my jurisdiction is only within the city of Cebu. But as you suggested, if there's going to be a coordination, then I would welcome it.
Because I think this won't work if it's just Cebu City that gets vaccinated,
right,
right?
yeah.
I mean, the 70% you're talking about is not supposedly just Cebu City,
Cebu
but
City.
the entire island.
Yeah.
For this vaccine to
Yeah,
work.
we are interconnected.
Yes.
And Cebu City is a center of trade.
Mayor, I asked you earlier about how a pandemic unites. And do you feel that we are united, not just as a city, but as an island, the province of Cebu as well? Are we always in a coordination with each other, especially with this vaccine coming up? I think it's crucial that we are united in implementing the vaccination, right, Mayor?
Yeah, I welcome if that would happen, that we are.
Is
we are
there
one
a coordination concern for you?
Quite very candidly, nothing has been discussed about it yet. But if that happens, I would welcome it.
Why do you think there's no discussion about that yet?
Not yet.
Why not?
Of course, we're still working independently from one another, and I think we are so busy taking care of our respective constituencies. But I think if the vaccine is provided, and I think when Secretary Galvez said that Cebu City or Cebu is a priority, he was not only thinking of Cebu City, but the entire island province of Cebu.
Mayor, we're down to our last few questions, Mayor. Christmas is just a few days away, and daghan kay itong mga kaigsuonan nga naglisod, way trabaho, nangasakit, away from their family and friends. What is your message to the Cebuanos out there, Mayor, who are in very difficult times?
Yes, we understand the plight of many of our population in Cebu City, and not just Cebu City, in the entire country, and maybe in the entire world. Many businesses have closed, and many of those workers, especially those workers that no work, no pay system or setup, it's very difficult. We are living in very extraordinary times, and it has come to us like a thief in the night. There is no system, no setup that has been installed. And I know that many are suffering. That's why on our part, we have provided. On our part, I think, of course, I thank also the City Council that we have provided some kind of assistance, 3 billion to given by way of rice, foodstuffs, and we never stop. Right now, when we are in the midst of this holiday season, we group the drivers, sectors, the vendors, those the poorest of the poor, and providing them with rice, cans of foodstuffs. But the more important thing is that we look forward that it's going to be a better situation for all of us once we shall have achieved the new normal. I can understand the plight of the many of our Cebuanos, and I feel for them. I sympathize with them. But antos ng tagamay, antos ng yudta, and I know that many Cebuanos are very prayerful, and they always believe in the divine intervention. Pero sa ako man sang tanaw, bisan tuod og naata sa taliwa sa kalisod, the Cebuanos, I could see them. They could still afford to smile. Maybe thinking that even if we are on these very difficult times, at least naapa si Lola, naapa si Lolo, naapa si Mama, naapa si Papa, naapa si Dodong ug si Inday. Ang what's the most important thing is that we are alive and that we were able to, do our best in fighting this pandemic, and eventually we will have a better life in the near future, especially when this vaccine shall be made available to all of us.
Mayor, the 3 billion pesos that you mentioned, mostly murag pagkaon man ni siya, di ba, Mayor, assistance for their food, for rice and all that stuff. But a lot of people in the middle class are becoming the new poor.
Yes.
You know, katong wala yung mga trabaho, ilang mga negosyo na nira na, or kaning dili na sila tungahon every day. So murag ang middle class, what they need is, aside from food, of course, is financial assistance as well, like the poorest of the poor. We understand that the poor also needs all that. So there's a middle class now in Cebu that's becoming the new poor.
That's right.
So do we have any assistance as well for the middle class who have no more jobs to go back to?
Well, as I've said, while providing for the poor, we are not closing the gates also to the middle class who have been affected. This problem, no template. We have not followed any template. This just came to us suddenly. And but I think we can make do with what we have. As we go around, there are still many people going shopping. And we have also allowed the opening of some businesses so that people, workers can already start working, and our employers, our businessmen would be able to, go into business and be able to really come up with this or conquer this.
Mayor,
Yes.
how would you like history to judge you, not just as mayor, but as Edgardo Labella? When you are sitting in your retirement chair, looking back at your life, how would you like history to remember you?
Well, of course, that you'll be remembered as a mayor who sincerely serves his constituencies, a mayor that did his best, especially in this time of pandemic, and a mayor that cares, a mayor that listens, a mayor that serves an example of humility in public service.
So you only mentioned mayor, so you have no more aspirations for higher office, Mayor?
As I've said, you can never argue with destiny.
Destiny, okay. You'll never know, right?
We never know what will happen.
Mayor, daghang salamat for giving me this opportunity to talk to you. I know you're very busy, especially these days. Pasko pa, napay pandemya. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Edgardo Colina, Labella. Daghang salamat, Mayor.
Daghang salamat, Jigs.
Thank you so
very
much.
much for
Thank
this
you.
opportunity.
Thank you.
Ngingigas imo mga question, oy.
Makakawala ka, sir?
Yeah.